In Chapter 10 of Invisible Man, the narrator starts his new job at the Liberty Paints Factory. He reports to his gruff supervisor, Mr. Kimbrough, and is given the task of dropping black oil into paint and then stirring it until it becomes optic white. The batch of paint the narrator works on is the government's large order for repainting a national monument. The narrator runs out of the black fluid, which is referred to as dope, needed to turn the paint white, and Mr. Kimbrough, who's already warned the narrator not to ask any questions and simply do what he's told, vaguely tells him to get more dope from the tank room. However, the narrator is faced with 10 different tanks, and the dope he chooses actually turns the paint into a gooey gray. Kimbrough is outraged and tries to fire the narrator. Instead, the narrator is sent down to the boiler room to work alongside the crotchety Lucius Brockway. Now, Brockway is an old man who's been working the machines for more than 25 years, clinging onto his job by spewing vitriolic hatred at anyone, including the narrator, whom he perceives as a threat. He hates young black men, even though he himself is black, because they're ungrateful for their jobs. He knows everything about those machines and the layout of the factory, and it's his job to create the base for all the paint. He gives the narrator one job, watching the boiler gauges to ensure that they don't overheat. Later, when the narrator goes to get his lunch, he returns to the locker room and unintentionally interrupts a union meeting. He knows very little about unions and has no intention of joining one. The members immediately accuse him of being a snitch and threaten to harm him. Their leader convinces them to perform an internal investigation of the narrator's character before passing judgment, and they let him go. Returning to the boiler room, Brockway is furious with paranoia that the narrator attended a union meeting and attacks him. When he realizes he has no physical match for the narrator, Brockway rigs the boilers to explode. Liberty paints could be an extended metaphor for race relations and race expectations in the novel. The main paint color produced at the factory is optic white. Consider how the paint factory covers blackness with the white paint to the narrator's desire to suppress his black heritage and appear more educated or white. Ellison reinforces this comparison by calling the finished paint a graduate. The fact that the paint is being sent to a national monument suggests a larger theme of whitewashing national history by failing to acknowledge black contributions. Lucius Brockway created the formula for optic white and masterminds daily production, yet receives no credit for his work. He's confined in a hot, dirty room below ground level, despised by his coworkers, and constantly fears losing his job. Meanwhile, the white bosses, who admittedly don't understand how production works, get rich. Everyone in the factory has an idea of who the narrator is. Mr. Kimbrough thinks he's a fool, the union members think he's a snitch, and Brockway thinks he's a liar. Everyone casts judgment on him without giving him the opportunity to explain himself. Even though the North is freer than the South for a black man, the narrator is still a victim of racial expectations.